Bambiz Marketing presents Elder Law Growth, the podcast that helps elder law and estate planning attorneys attract clients without wasting time or money. I'm your host, Amy Hurst. Let's dive in.
You know, our biggest, I think, key to success and when my roller coaster, the revenue roller coaster, as we like to call it, where, I was going out, getting clients, marketing, clients who were starting to come in, but then I was by myself. So I had to go be in the office and process applications and do all the work and not be out marketing. So, they would go way up and then I have 2 to 3 weeks of working and then not marketing. So then nothing was coming in and it was just up and down. And then
so you couldn't keep that ball rolling by doing the presentations and that momentum stopped.
Exactly. Because there was no one there to process Medicaid applications. Medicaid applications in our state, specifically in our county, can take 40 to 60 hours per application. You have to stay on top of them. At the time, it was several in-person state hearings you could count on. And it wasn't nothing that I was doing wrong. I would show up to the state hearing and I know the one family, we were like day 150 and they just didn't believe me. They thought I didn't know what I was doing. And I invited them to come to the state hearing with me and the son came, thankfully, because he was the most upset person of the family. And the Medicaid hearing officer and caseworker started reading the facts of the case. And after about 2 minutes, they started listing off all these assets that his mom had. And he's looking at me weird. I'm looking at him weird. I'm like, I've never even heard of that thing before. And it turned out they had stapled or had her information on the cover of the file, but somebody else's information was inside the file. So they were determining her case on somebody else's information. And that's why we're having so many problems going back and forth, I was so happy he was there because he was just flabbergasted. Like, this is how you do it. This should be a simple fix because the person's name on the inside of the document was right on top. It was,
oh my gosh,
completely different names. It wasn't similar. And then after that, they were, I wouldn't say they're embarrassed. I don't really think they care, but it was resolved pretty quickly. So things like that. So once, kind of all to get back, once I was able to hire Lynn and she was able to answer the phone calls and return phone calls very timely, because that's the best thing you can do, improve client communication.
That was elder law attorney Jackie Collins, who was so generous to spend some time with me so I could pick his brain on what it's like a day in the life of being an elder law attorney. And in that interview, he was joined with fellow elder law attorney Wren Cruz. These two elder law attorneys have hit so many bumps in the road when it comes to beginning an elder law practice. There's a lot of hurdles to jump through. And together, they combined forces and they created a business called Elder Law Connection. And through this business, they train attorneys to do elder law without hitting all the bumps in the road that they hit. So if you're an attorney who's kind of playing with the thought of having elder law as a new area that you want to practice, but you're not really quite sure how to go about it, this episode's for you. In this podcast episode, Jackie and Wren are going to give the top 3 tips for those who are considering elder law. Let's dive in.
Having someone to always answer the phone. I mean, when I say no automation, I call some law offices, they're like, please press 1 for this person, press 2 for this person. Our goal is to have it answered on the 3rd ring. Who's the client? Is it their parent, aunt, uncle, best friend, brother, things like that? Because typically with elder law, you're not dealing with the actual client the first call. Figure out where that client's living. Are they in assisted living? Are they at home and they've just fallen and now they're on their way to the hospital? Typically when we get the call is someone's in short-term rehab, and they get cut by Medicare. So they have 3 days to find somewhere to live or they pay the full rehab rate, which around here is 12 to 15 grand a month. So they're panicking, because by the time they're told, they usually have 48 hours to find somewhere for mom or dad to live, or they pay that thing. And then we get a phone call. That's where having someone to actually answer the phone and just to calm their initial fears, knowing, saying, hey, we do this every day, we can help. Who referred them, so you can thank them later. That's super critical. What services, ask them. Don't be afraid to ask them, what do they think they need? That way you can be the one to tell them why they don't need it. Because if they've heard it or read it on the internet, they might not bring it up directly, or they might think of it in the back of their head. And then when you're telling them something the opposite, then they're not quite believing you because they're like, well, I read this on the internet. That contradicts it. Who do I believe? But you just have them tell you what they think first. They might say nothing, and then you just go for it. But
that's such a genius question, because I know I catch myself doing that. I'll go online, I'll find my own answer, and then I'll call a pro and they'll give me an opposite answer. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, I think I might go with whatever I found online.
Yeah.
Right. Say it. So that's such a good question. I didn't even think about how important that question, what do they think they need? And I bet it brings up such a good conversation between you and them and helps debunk the stuff that they see online.
You don't know what type of disinformation you're up against. I said before, triage, they call that super important. If it's someone that's getting kicked out of a hospital or rehab, then, we need to set up a phone call, even if it's a 15-minute phone call with one of the attorneys or the office manager, just to make them feel better that the world's not ending. Yeah. It's like, hey, we can do this. This is how we can help you. We'll get you in within a couple days. Most people don't expect to get in within 24 hours, but if you can get them in within 48 or 72, they're super happy. And that's what the initial phone call is for. So if I'm fully booked the next day while I'm driving to an appointment, I could call them for 15 minutes and just say, hey, bring this to the meeting so they have an assignment and they feel good. Going back to that office intake specialist or manager or everybody on the team, you have to have a first line of defense. When it's a crisis case, have the initial phone call within 24 hours is our goal, even if it's a 15-minute, phone call. If someone's, we'll get calls, people are crying because they're at their wit's end. They don't know what to do. They have our card. They think we're an attorney. We can solve all their problems, which we try to do. Then, if all the staff are fully knowledgeable, they can answer a few questions just to get people to calm down. And let them know with confidence that we can handle their problems. So after that initial phone call, within 72 hours, have them come in person or Zoom or whatever, since a lot of times kids live out of town. And then we give them that homework to do. Please fill out this one-page intake form so we know where your assets and income, were you a veteran, were you not, do you have kids, all that type of stuff. So the consultation will go faster for both of us.
Sure.
Like we talked about earlier, build crisis time into your weekly schedule. If it doesn't get used, then go stop it in a building somewhere. Use it for marketing. Like, okay, I didn't get that time filled. I'm just going to go pick a new building I've never been to before and go try to meet. So I started about an hour away. The first building liked me and had me do a presentation the next week, which went awful, but only 2 people showed up. So that was nice. And then I really broke through when I went into an assisted living and an independent living building. Literally 20 minutes after the business office manager and marketer were being cursed at because they referred to another attorney to do a VA application. And he had charged them $8,000. It was supposed to be free. They were already eligible. And the family figured it out that it should have been a free application. And they were livid. So I show up 20 minutes later. They could have told me to leave. They didn't want to talk to us. So they told me about what happened. I said, well, I can do the application for free because it's supposed to be free. They referred the family to me, and thankfully the VA this was before the rule change, but so it was a lot faster to get the VA stuff processed, and we got it within 3 or 4 months, and they were super happy. And then that building had 5 sister buildings, and they all switched over to me, basically, to referrals.
Because you saved the day.
Yes, so you never know.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. Which leads us to have relationships, build relationships with hospitals, rehab centers, nursing homes, placement companies. They help find assisted living communities for people. I have a deck of cards or deck of business cards on my desk, and we have flyers in our lobby of all of our biggest referral partners. So if they say, well, we want to try to keep mom at home, well, here's 2 brochures of 2 different home health companies. Talk to both of them and tell them we told you to come, because then they send people your way. So that's critical. Medicaid cases are the most work. Like I said, they're complicated, most room for mistakes. But if you have someone like us with you, we help you walk through that. It's your cases, so until you get used to it. But it brings in the highest revenue for your firm. So, and you also, it's not a secret process. Like I said, I don't like any secrets. So you want the client to know what your firm's process is to handle the Medicaid application. That way, if something goes wrong, you can say, look, part one is we submit the application. The local county has 45 days to respond. They haven't responded. That's why it's day 50 and you haven't heard back from us, client. So we had to file for a state hearing. You've already told them this. You took them. I tell them, okay, day 1 through day 120, when we expect an approval, what happens in between? So if they call, we can just say, we're about here. Or there's been a big issue. Or, Medicaid found something that you didn't know about that your mom or dad had, like a stack of bonds, that are worth 50 grand. And we have to figure that out. Things like that.
So pretend I'm an estate planning attorney and I've been toying with the thought of doing elder law. What would be like your 3 biggest takeaways for me to get started? Brand new, haven't started elder law yet.
Well, look into it into your state. Maybe Google elder law attorneys near me. See how much competition you have in the area. Because if you have 50 elder law attorneys, which I've never seen, it's usually like 10 or less. Even for big, Columbus has 2 million people in the total, surrounding area, and there's not that many, probably a dozen or so. Think about, partnering with someone so you don't have to wait 9 months or more to get your first paycheck. Right. How important is it for you to have the work-life balance to do an area of the law where you actually feel like you're making a difference? That's the biggest thing for me. It's I was a veteran, so it's nice doing VA benefits for people. When I first started, I did anything that walked in the door: criminal law, landlord-tenant law, and helping somebody get off on a lesser charge doesn't really have a whole lot of good feels to it as it does, helping protect some assets for the spouse that's staying at home, or finding $2,600 a month for a married veteran, things like that, that they had no idea. It's all happy endings usually for these things. For difficult times, you're navigating someone's most difficult time in their life, but you're able to give them good resolution. So is that something, you have to be willing to work for, because it's not easy. Wren, do you have a good one?
I think I found that elder law specifically, sort of relative to other areas of law, your reputation and integrity is so important. Keeping that in mind, that as you're out there talking to people and practicing, that your reputation is key.
Yeah, you have to be willing to go the extra mile for people. Do things that normal attorneys would never even consider doing. Going to someone's house, going to the hospital, meet with them. Yes. Go above and beyond, and let the client will see it and know that they're really taken care of.
A quick plug for Wren and Jackie. These are just attorneys who want to help other attorneys help more people in their communities through elder law services. Say that 5 times fast. These are attorneys who want to help other attorneys help their communities in elder law services. Said it. But it's true, because there really isn't a whole lot of elder law services to go around for the families who need it. So if this is something that interests you, if you want to do elder law, go ahead and check these guys out. Go to their website, elderlawconnection.com. A quick peek into what their services are. There's going to be in-person training. They're going to train you at your office and then at theirs. They're going to show you how to market yourself, how to do presentations, which businesses to go to in your community, and get referrals, how to work smarter, not harder, the right people to ask and how to ask, especially in the beginning, because just like Jackie said, those referrals are everything. And once the ball starts rolling for you, once the dust is kind of settled, when you're in elder law, their help doesn't stop. They will then start helping you with the back end services. So when those Medicaid applications do start coming in, they're going to be there to help you with the drafting, whatever it is that you need. These are some great folks. So if you're interested, please feel free to check them out. And thank you so much for listening.
Thanks for listening to the Elder Law Growth Podcast, the place to be for all things marketing for elder law and estate planning law firms. If you liked this podcast, please leave us a review wherever you are listening to this podcast. If you'd like to outsource your marketing to our team, go to bambiz.net and book a free call with us today.